In fact, we've already seen this in action. The download numbers on various app stores have been going crazy. Proton VPN, just one of the many available options, saw a 1,800% increase in downloads when the act came into effect. And it isn't the only option either. Lots of people have found success circumventing the checks with random options. Any of this stuff. As long as at least one country somewhere in the world doesn't have these measures, using a VPN will get you past the age check. In fact, we've already seen this in action.
Like I said, my bad. Uh, it's not for safety. It's for monetary value. That's all I'm gonna say.
Download numbers on various app stores have been going crazy. Proton VPN, just one of the many available options, saw a 1,800% increase in downloads when the act came into effect. And it isn't the only option either. Lots of people have found success circumventing the checks with random pictures or even screenshots from video games. So it's hard to see how the checks will ever be able to deal with AI generated faces or really any picture or 3D model of a face. It means that anyone who actually wants to get past the blocks, including children, easily can. The UK government knows this and already knew this before they passed the act. In fact, part of the act bars websites from suggesting a VPN as a way around it. So who are the only people that don't know about VPNs, that won't know how to install and use them? Well, older people who have been left behind by technology already. They're the ones who will blindly give away their ID and pictures of their face. Most will assume it's government guaranteed and safe, but of course,
It's
it really
not.
isn't. Instead, the law changes open the door to a set of corporate contractors. Unknown until now, internet users are expected to share their most confidential information with these companies just to use the internet. So who are these companies? Well, let's take a look at Persona, the company.
Bro, imagine later in the future where you have to give your own face to do anything at all when it comes to the web. You want to buy something on Amazon, Face ID first. You want to buy something on shit at any store digitally, you show your face. You have to show your face to show that it's you. You use Cash App. You show your face for every transaction that you do. Bro, that is, oh my god, bro, oh my god, we're fucked. I'm saying you're fucked, but we're fucked, bro, cause oh man. Yeah, we're fucked.
Reddit and OpenAI have chosen to conduct their checks. Taken directly from their privacy policy, Persona securely stores all photos of identity documents that you upload, photos of your face that you upload, and data from scans of facial geometry. Persona also fails to tell people when verifying that third-party vendors can also have access to all of this, meaning they give it to a ton of other companies. What's more, those claims about immediately destroying the data are really nonsense. The privacy policy indicates that they don't even get rid of it for a whole 3 years. So if they make you verify your age again, the timer resets. And that 3 years is only if the government doesn't explicitly tell them to keep it, in which case they will. So just by looking at one of these companies tells you that they can keep it for pretty much however long they want. Then there's the fact that it doesn't really matter what these companies say anyway. They routinely underinvest in cybersecurity, which leads to massive data breaches all of the time. Then millions of people's data gets sold to the highest bidder. Literally days before this act even came into effect, the women's dating app T also had a massive data
I remember
breach.
that.
The
Yeah,
app
that
was
was
designed for women to gossip about men in a safe space, enforced through mandatory facial verification for users. T said in their privacy policy that they deleted all the verification images immediately.
That's
However,
cap. That's that is cap, bro. We saw a lot of faces in that shit, bro.
when the breach happened, tens of thousands of these images were stolen and leaked online. And it's just been one of the
Exactly.
many data breaches this year. You clearly can't trust these corporate contractors, especially these small shady companies, which have suddenly been given a guaranteed middleman spot by this new law. So because the government says so, people
Oh,
using
now we
the
got
internet are now
middlemen.
forced to give
Yeah,
their
we have middlemen in this bitch. At that point, we're fucked. Oh yeah, we're fucked.
ID to a selection
They're
of
middlemaning this shit. Yeah, that's
companies, who will share it with whomever they like and delete it when they feel like, if at all. In many people's opinions, it's the government itself
so. At that point, it's no one's fault if they're middlemaning it, bro.
be under scrutiny. They're the ones who should be treated like criminals mainly because so many of them are actually criminals. There's been far too many scandals to
Facts.
count recently
Don't
with
trust any
Parliament. You've got
politician,
the
folks. Y'all
fraudulent
know
PPE
that.
contracts, the expenses scandal, the breakdown of the S&P in Scotland for financial crime, just to name a few. And so if anyone should be getting monitored and surveilled, it's the people who wrote this law in the first place. Although we've just shown what almost everyone already knew about this, that this part of the Online Safety Act is useless because of VPNs, it's malicious because of the potential for data breaches, and hypocritical because of who it targets. And they already knew this before they passed it, it's just too obvious. So what's the real reason behind all of this? Well, a key aim of the Online Safety Act seems to be to control what adults view on the internet, based on their understandable hesitation to give away their picture and ID. You can draw this conclusion from what they've been using it to block. Lots of subreddits.
Bruh, like, I just fear for the worst at this point. Everything that you do is being monitored. Every single thing. From the move of a mouse to the click of a button, bruh. Apple tracks this. And then we're using a browser. Then the browser tracks the movement because they're within the application, which was allowed by Apple because we agreed to that. Oh, man. How fucked are we? Oh, man. Like, this is like a big rabbit hole, bro.
Surrounding adult content were blocked by the act, of course, but lots of other ones were also caught in the crossfire. The Stop Smoking and Stop Drinking subreddits have been reported as being blocked to some users. And you'd
Wait,
think
what?
the UK government would want kids to have access to those resources,
Dead
especially
ass.
considering they let the vape companies get them all addicted years ago. Other potentially sensitive content is now being gated off. People have reported that X is blocking footage from immigration protests in the UK. A speech from a member of parliament.
What? Power users when watching powerful speech about grooming gangs. Earlier this year. What? Why? Users advice formally Twitter complained around. In the UK. Local laws. This is some bullshit, bro.
Also blocked. It was about the horrific grooming gang scandal that's been rocking the UK recently. This is a clear example of harm being done to.
Bruh. This is
Yet
terrible.
the government chose to block people from discussing it. It's also been reported that posts about Gaza and Ukraine have been blocked as well. The danger lies.
Some Gaza Ukraine posts blocked in noise checks. Oh man, so now they're suppressing media now. They're suppressing the people's media now? Bro, once you fuck with the people, that's not good, bro. It's always been we the people, bro. Now you're not giving us the right to do this. Granted, this is the U.S. is saying, but at the same time, I feel like this applies to everyone. Everyone has the right to say what they want about their government. I feel like, that's why I follow the United States, they have some shit where it's like we're able to be more free. And then I can't take that for granted. So that's why I'm saying, like, I feel like the people are able to create what they want. And the fact that this is limiting the people, I have some shit to say about that, right? That's not right.
Is escalating out of control. You give the government an inch and they'll take a mile, as we saw during COVID. And this law sets the precedent of handing over the power of censorship to algorithms. Algorithms and AI built and designed to follow broad guidelines dictated by the people in power. This is so dystopian, and yet nobody realizes the true extent of how bad the situation really is, as it matches up with other UK laws and measures designed to restrict people's freedoms. The UK and Apple have been in a massive battle for years over privacy. The UK is demanding that Apple let them have a backdoor into people's messages and private information. This backdoor
Yeah, that nah. Yeah, nah.
doesn't even exist, and yet the UK is insisting.
Look, hopefully, Apple bro actually keeps that shit tucked in and the security is high. I know Apple's security is high top, bro, but hopefully they don't use it for no nefarious shit, bro. Because I don't trust no big conglomerate, bro. I really don't, bro. I just don't. But I'm a consumer, so I just got to deal with it, bro. And deal with the consequences for my materialistic spendings, I guess. I don't know.
break their promises and
uh,
have it installed. Meanwhile, they've done the same for WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption as well, despite the fact that nobody can read those messages, not even WhatsApp, allegedly. Now, lots of tech companies may follow suit in pushing the UK on this one. At least you'd hope so. As I mean, when you've got Meta of all companies fighting for data protection against your own government, you know you're cooked. The measures are likely to fall right into the
facts.
hands of populists like Nigel Farage, and it could very likely win in the next election, as it's such a terrible, awful look for Labour and Starmer to force this through despite the immense backlash. All Labour have done is dig the hole further and further, with how deeply the public no longer trust the government of England anymore. It's so bad that members of parliament now
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I feel like there should be a revolution now, bro. Like, I feel like people don't understand how much, not just the United Kingdom's government, but every single government worldwide, how much people are being used by them for their own personal gain. Voting, well, if at least the other countries have votings, at least it's not a tyranny, you know. If not, but yeah, if I feel like there should be revolutions now, bro, because everybody's getting oppressed, bro. Everybody that is under a certain bracket is getting oppressed now by the government, and we can't do nothing about it. At that point, there's going to be a bubble that's going to burst, and there will be violence. I mean, look what's happening right now with the LA. You might say, oh, la di da di da, this and that. It doesn't fucking matter, bro. These are people that have been, like for me, I believe this. There might be some lunacy, bro. Like, I think people have the right to stay what they want within this earth. People are good, people are bad. Bad things happen, good things happen. There's not one certain demographic of people that is technically a causation of anything. Like they don't cause they aren't the main cause of something. They're just a cause of based on what happens to them because of the environment, right? So I just believe people are capable of anything. Good, bad, evil, whatever. So we cannot say people that are good to leave a land that they lived for so long just because of a certain piece of document that they cannot have. You might say it's illegal to do it or it's unlawful or like, bro, there's a lot of things that are unlawful, bro. It's like there's a green fine line about these things. Like you could say history, but nigga, most of y'all don't even know fucking history. That's the thing, bro. Like even I don't know most of this shit in history, bro. And I like history from time to time, like learning about it. But when I hear people say some certain things that did not happen, or in a say some things about history that it happens in a way of the perspective that is technically incorrect, like at some point it's like you're just twisting the narrative, and we shouldn't twist something that should be objectively truth. You know, I feel like people shouldn't be kicked land of where they feel like they're at home. I understand there are laws and you must abide for those laws, but shit, that doesn't mean every law is correct or right, right? I mean, if people thought that was like the best outcome or the best thing to happen, why is it that there's fucking violence happening because of it? There is an opposing view because of it. And that opposing view, you could say, well, it's incorrect because it says so laws, said so people in Congress said so. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of things in Congress and history have been said by the government that a lot of people agreed by it on. It says the law, la da da da, and bro, ended up being incorrect, bro. Like throughout history, the government has forced many things. Not realizing that we have the right to cause some change. And I feel like that change will end up happening soon, if I'm being honest. I'm in a bit of went on a bit of a tangent, but like like shit, man, like change will happen, bro. And right now you're seeing that with the LA riots, LA protests, even there are riots, protests. there's everything going on in LA, or not even just LA, presumptually, because he said even UK when it comes to immigration and shit. Like, like a lot of shit is happening, bro, and people are starting to stand up and oppose these things, and it's a good thing. Obviously, the media is going to portray it as something that's bad. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide whether or not you're doing good or bad. It's up to you. So you might end up being wrong, but that's okay. Or you might be on the right side. I don't know what side I'm in. I just believe of certain things and certain views. But I don't mind hearing them out and seeing where it may come from when it comes to these opposing opinions, I guess, or opposing minds. I just think we just got to be better at understanding, bro. We got to discern these things, bro. Discernment is a big fucking gift that we were given. So therefore, let's use it, man. Like, come on, bro. Think about the human being, bro. Bro, and some people just can't think from a simple perspective, a general perspective, bro. When it comes to us as human kin. Damn, I'm going to be a big ass tangent now, but no, let's continue, bro.
Those who don't agree with this bill are siding with predators by opposing the Online Safety Act, calling people Jimmy Savile supporters.
Verifying your age keeps a child safe, keeps children safe in our country. And I say to people like Nigel Farage,
twat. As I say right there, twat in England, fucking twat.
Every time he does this and says it, he makes children more exposed, more susceptible to dangerous content.
It's a really disturbing, stupid attempt to silence criticism which everyone can see through. And the worst part is that this isn't just the license-happy UK nanny state. This is a coordinated
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view. Next, I set a priority and
choreographed effort by major Western governments to limit internet freedom. They've wanted this for years and it's finally coming to fruition. Just take a look at some of the other measures they're drafting across the democratic world. In the European Union, under Denmark's 2025 presidency, they've revived the chat control legislation, which aims to mandate client-side scanning of all private messages even on encrypted platforms like WhatsApp and Signal. Or to ostensibly detect CSAM. But what this is really doing is effectively ending end-to-end encryption and opening the door to mass surveillance and systemic security vulnerabilities, which is all part of their wider Protect EU initiative, which seeks to enable lawful decryption of private communications by 2030. Then we have Australia, arguably the most aggressive Western country when it comes to taking away internet freedom, as their e-safety commissioner has sweeping powers to now demand content takedowns within 24 hours, including posts on private messaging apps, and non-compliance of this can lead to millions in fines. As Australia has criminalized end-to-end encryption resistance. Under the Turner Act, the government can legally force tech companies to build backdoors into encrypted apps like WhatsApp and Signal, and gag orders prevent them from telling the public. And they too are also pushing for facial recognition technology to enforce age verification. Also that they can ensure who uses social media and who doesn't. Even going as far to apparently ban kids from social media. In the US, we have the Kids Online Safety Act, which gives the government and state attorneys general power to control online content that could be deemed harmful to minors. But like all of these governments, the language is vague. It's clearly just a front to control and regulate more of the internet. And the US is even trying to push through the Screen Act, requiring comprehensive age verification for all users on the internet,
everything you do.
ending anonymous browsing in the US as a whole.
It's not about protection.
It's clear governments around the world are suddenly in unison, quietly and rapidly coordinating to take unprecedented control.
It's not about protection, bro. It's about power. It's about control. It's about money.
It's like the Simpsons meme of saving the children. Ireland is now proposing a law that will allow the government to scan your private messages directly on your phone before you even send them. Not by breaking encryption, but by implementing client-side scanning, which means the government could get access to your messages before they're encrypted straight from your device. And the UK is already a step ahead on that. In the Online Safety Act, they give Ofcom the power to mandate the same kind of invasive surveillance, scanning your messages before they even leave your phone, something straight out of Minority Report. And this isn't hypothetical, this is now reality. We are currently witnessing a horrifying force to control the internet, and this should alarm everyone watching this video right now, as the internet as you know it is being taken away from you in a coordinated global government effort, and nobody voted for any of this. But if you really want to understand
fucking happen, cause they fucking can. It just happened cause they fucking can. Which, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Like, bro, we need change when it comes to this global power dynamic that's happening. Not only that, we're just being used here, bro, for these people's government. Like, especially the government, that we're being used, bro. We're just a little puppet to them, bro. But fuck it, bro. At times, I don't know. That's why I can't blame people when they say ignorance is bliss, bro, because you just live the life, bro. You live happily. Even through the hardest times, and bro, through all the bullshit, you just ignorantly not be aware of it. I think that's not bad too, bro. Because who wants to deal with all this fucking bullshit that's happening and understand the information that we're being fucked around, bro? I'd rather just not think about it and just live happily, but I can't, bro. This shit just, I hate this, I wish I could just think like that, which I don't mind people that do, bro. It's you're more at peace with yourself, I guess, because you're not thinking too much about it, For me, I think about this shit like this every day, bro, and it's just getting worse as it shows, I guess, Fuck, bro. I hate Moon, bro, but I love his videos so much. Let me start. Shout out Moon, bro. Because it might be cynical, but it does show you, give it like a certain dose of certain realities, bro, that I love seeing, But shit, man. Great video by Moon, though. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh. Forgot there's a different channel. I gotta subscribe. I gotta make sure to get back in track of subscribing to. There's a new complete channel on a new, feel me? I gotta get back to the channels that I watched and shit. Resubscribing, basically. All these other channels that I have to do. But fuck it, let's keep going, bro. See what else they got. Should I wait for another one? Nah, I think that's probably another one won't be that bad. Okay, another one. Another one by Moon after that will be good. I should feel like we should watch one Moon video at a time. We shouldn't overconsume it. Let's watch something else. But we should technically watch something about to the similar subject though. Hold on, let me see. I saw that shit, I think, for what was it? Housing market. It was some shows, a video that I saw. It was about the hiring. Why is the housing market so bad? I think I should write that. Why so bad? 30 there.
Hey gang, this episode is brought to you by Means TV, the world's first anti-capitalist streaming service. Stick around after the home in over a decade. Snag a nice little discount as a thank you for supporting my channel.
I feel like for Gen Z, we're somewhat fucked. Gen Alpha, oh, they're really fucked. How the fuck are they gonna get all this money now to fucking buy a house if this shit's going up like this, bro? Bruh, I would like to know how much a dozen of eggs, right? How much would that cost 15 years from now, bro? My guess is, if I'm being honest, a dozen eggs, I say they would cost around $15. $15, bro. I say, bro.
2023 was the least affordable year to buy a home in over a decade. It was also the year we saw a record number of people paying well over 30% of their income on rent. And if you're looking for someone to blame, you're not going to find them here. No, for that, we got to go to New York.
New York.
New York.
It's a wonderful time.
New York? I've been there. Stinks of fish.
Because it's in these buildings that a lot of our story takes place. These nondescript glass boxes that we probably should have figured out don't make for great B-roll before a 45-minute subway ride.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us in our next...
Anyway, these are the New York offices of real estate property managers, real estate tech companies, and private equity firms invested in real estate, including everyone's favorite, Blackstone.
I hate
These
Blackstone and
companies
BlackRock.
are a huge part of why we've seen home prices skyrocket.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. The government in cahoots with these companies are not. Yeah. They're in cahoots with them, bro. Like, what am I saying the government can't do? They're with them, bro. They're fucking each other in the ass, bro. They love each other, bro. So what am I saying? They're not gonna do shit about this. But nah, dead ass, bro. You gotta understand, BlackRock and Blackstone, bro. Fuck them, bro. Fuck them, bro. I swear to God, damn, bro. I'm just heating right now. You're wondering why the fuck you can't fucking buy a house? Well, blame them, bro. At least the majority of the part blame them.
Over the U.S. these last 20 years.
Buying every single fucking
The
house,
median
bro.
home sits at some 400 grand and costs the average American, someone making about 80K, over 40% of their income in monthly housing costs. This is about as bad as it's ever been, and just to give you an idea, 80 years ago, the average house only cost about 18 grand, roughly 180K in today's money, at a time when the average income
180,000?
18 grand, roughly 180K in today's money, at
180K in today's. That's way more affordable, bro.
time when the average income was only a third of that, around 6K. Basically, we've seen homeownership get about twice as expensive for the average person since your grandparents bought their house for a nickel and 7 strawberries. And the story isn't much better.
They basically got, bro, what? You're telling me right now that they basically got a house for a bag of chips and some potatoes, bro? That's crazy, bro. How do you, bro? Back then you were able to, oh my God, the prices of a house was literally a bag of chips and a bag of potatoes, bro. That's fucking crazy, bro. That is crazy, bro. Damn. Not ordinary bag of chips, some hot Cheetos too, bro. Or whatever fucking bag of chips they had right there, bro. I say Lay's. Lay's are the classic fucking Lay's, bro. It costs a bag of Lay's, bro. That's fucking crazy. How the fuck did it go all to shit? My God. Complete shit.
Rental world, where more than half of all renters are paying more than the recommended 30% on housing, and over a quarter are paying more than 50%. It's gotten so bad that there's basically nowhere in the country where someone working a full-time minimum wage job can afford a simple one-bedroom, much less an apartment for a family.
Bro, one job, minimum wage, you ain't getting... Minimum wage ain't gonna get you shit, bro. What? Bro, anyone that lives on minimum wage, bro, no offense, bro. Respect your hard work. Bro, minimum wage ain't gonna be shit, bro. You're not, bro, I don't even think you're gonna be having else to have one LDK, bro. One LDK. You're not able to have one LDK. That is crazy. Oh my god. That is crazy.
Time out!
How did this happen?
I ain't feeling like thinking about it, bro. Well, nah, I would have had a tangent thought about it. It would have been a tangent. It was. Oh man, I actually would have wanted to see Samuel L. Jackson as a fucking streamer in this modern day, bro. That actually would have been cool as fuck.
The conventional narrative, both on TV and in Twitter Econ Bro replies, pins the blame on simple supply and demand.
Supply.
Demand.
Supply and demand dynamic.
You'll often hear this idea that what's driving up the price of housing is basically not enough homes. Too many people chasing too few houses, meaning bidding wars and competitive buyers markets. This is an Econ 101 explanation that's surprisingly persistent for just how wrong it is. The truth is that the price of homes has almost nothing to do with the actual supply. In most cases, house prices go up year after year pretty much regardless of how many homes there actually
Spy
are.
land is the land.
Sometimes housing construction stagnates and prices go up. Sometimes construction outpaces demand, and
I feel like it's not construction that costs, it's the land that ends up getting valued. You know? Because the land costs more than the house, I feel like, you know?
prices still go up. What actually matters for the price of a house is the demand and supply of finance to both housing consumers and housing producers. And that's mostly
okay, I don't know.
to do with changes in government policies since the 80s, global finance markets, and the massive generational wealth gap between the old and the new generations. But
I still wonder though, if it's not if the supply for making a house doesn't cost that much. Damn, bro, at that point you could just bullshit a price and they'll say, yep, this seems about right. So they're bullshitting the price of a house, bro? I feel like that's what's happening, bro. They're just bullshitting a house, bro. Oh my god, don't tell me they're doing that. If they're bullshitting
look
that
at
shit.
the rental market for a second. Before we get to the finance side of things, let me just show you how wrong the very basic supply and demand story is in the rental world. Specifically, thanks to the new popularity of rental algorithms.
The
For
fuck is that?
Let's go back to 2022.
Rental algorithm.
We were deep in the post-2020 inflationary cycle. Rents in one-bedroom apartments were up 17% from 2 years prior. And when asked to comment
that's a big
on
jump,
why
low-key.
by the New York Times, this guy, Jay Parsons, fell back on the simple supply and demand explanation. Quote, "The reality is that rents can only rise as incomes rise. If people can't afford it, you can't lease it." The problem is, that was a lie. Millennials and Gen Z's wages aren't rising, and are actually lower in many places than they were for older generations. We're all paying way too much for rent. The reason Mr. Parsons is peddling this false narrative in the New York Times, though, is that his, now former, employer, RealPage, is to blame for a lot of these rents going up. For years now, tech companies like RealPage, Yardi, and their competitors have been selling a special piece of software to private landlords that allows them to aggregate all sorts of information about the apartments they own. Using that data, collected from thousands of landlords and significant chunks of any given area's rental market, RealPage's algorithm recommends things like what landlords should charge and specific occupancy rates. Most of the time, pushing those two things in opposite directions. Take the occupancy rate, for example. Landlords used to shoot for around 97 to 98% occupancy. Obviously, right? You have apartments, just lease them out. Landlording's not a real job, this shit's easy. Anyway, maximizing the number of people
That's
occupying
funny.
the places you own
That's so true, bro.
seems obvious, and even lines up with what landlords lie and say their job is, providing people with housing. In recent years, though, landlords have found that this sort of quote-unquote obvious logic doesn't hold up. According to ProPublica, RealPage's software has recommended property managers reduce their occupancy down to about 94%. Units stay empty, but thanks to the algorithm's calculation and its ability to push out the same recommendation to a ton of property managers at once, landlords actually see a net revenue increase of about 3 to 4% when they empty units and raise rents on those they keep occupied. Same goes for turnover. Using RealPage's software, landlords found that if they increase turnover by about 15%, meaning kicking out tons of people as soon as their leases end or being more liberal with evictions, they can raise rents quicker. And this has real consequences.
That's bad.
Consequences that the CEO of RealPage knows because last year he told a trade publication, quote, "The net effect of driving revenue and pushing people out was $10 million in income. I think that shows keeping the heads in the bed."
Bro, what? The net effect of driving revenue and pushing people out was 10 million. This was keeping the heads in the... All else is always the best strategy. It's not always the best strategy. Oh my
Above all
God.
else is not always the best strategy.
That is
This
crazy.
isn't normal rhetoric. It's cruel, calculated, and basically automated violence. Especially given that hundreds of thousands of people in the US are homeless.
Bro, it's very bad, bro. I feel like also not only is homeless increasing, like the homelessness is increasing, but I also see that the age of homelessness is becoming younger. Like, probably not younger to a big extent, but if you were to see from the ages of 14 to 19 and 20 to 26, with I guess within that, I feel like there would be a graph that shows increase of homelessness to these kids, bro. Because, bro, I've been seeing a lot of videos on the internet now of homeless, bro. I'm talking about, like, they're on drugs, fat, heavy, bro, and they're young as fuck, bro. In high school type shit. Well, not in high school, but high school aged kids, you know? Oh, man, it's just sad, bro. And that's why at times I look at myself, I'm so blessed, bro. Even in this hellish world that we live in, bro, like, it's just not right, bro. You got to do something about this, but like I said, bro, a revolution has to start, bro. I don't know who the fuck's gonna be the nigga that start this bullshit. Or not this bullshit, because I need this shit to happen. I need this real shit to happen. Not bullshit, real shit, bro. But, like, I don't know who's gonna start it, but... Shit. Let it come out with a bang, bro, because we need this shit to tell the government, oh, hold up. We might be doing something bad. Like, they at least think they might do something. At least we stop something, bro, because... These motherfuckers are too cruel to realize what the fuck they're doing because of the fucking greed,
can't
bro.
afford the place they live. RealPage's software, which unfortunately gets better at this extortion racket the more signups it gets, rigs the market even more in favor of landlords than it already was. By letting landlords coordinate their price hikes without actually needing to collude, just following an algorithm's recommendations, RealPage's approach kicks more people out of their homes, leaves more apartments vacant, and allows property managers sitting on hundreds of units to get a bigger chunk of people's dwindling incomes. This single example shows that the price of rent has nothing to do with the number of livable homes and everything to do with how comfortable property managers are using various price gouging techniques. In a for-profit business, they're going to be very comfortable. But underneath this thin layer of dystopian tech, there's a deeper core of private finance that's really driving all this. A big part of the landlording that exists today comes from small-time landlords. Mom and pop style setups where people buy an extra property with the express purpose of leasing it out. But over time, we've seen this small-scale approach complemented by huge interest from private equity firms.
What the fuck?
Apollo Global Management, the Carlyle Group, and maybe most famously, Blackstone, to name just three big ones in a sea of private equity firms, have all recently upped their investments in real estate. In the first quarter of 2022, nearly a third of all single-family homes sold in the US were bought by private investors. And that's already not great. But some areas are seeing even more dramatic numbers. Not only that, real estate markets that investors used to not touch are numbers.
Institutional investors in a single-family market, 67% in Lincoln County, Mississippi, Tarrant County, Texas. Investors drove growth according to the Coral Lodge. Shit. Damn.
Not only that, real estate markets that investors used to not touch are seeing the same trend. Nearly 25% of mobile home purchases in 2020 and 2021 were made by private equity groups, meaning some 21 million people living on very tight budgets saw their housing get bought up en masse, and for some of them, their rents go up as much as 60%. By making cash offers and bypassing a lot of steps someone who would
60%? Bro, what? Imagine getting hit out of nowhere with telling you, yo, rent is gonna go up real quick. It's gonna go up 60%. And imagine you're already paying 2 G's, bro. And that's over 3 bands out of nowhere they have to pay instead of the regular 2 G's that you're already paying right now. Oh my God.
Appraisal, private equity has completely taken
That
over
is
real estate,
crazy,
swooping in
bro.
and raising housing costs for everyone along the way, renters and homeowners alike. But why, right? Sure, profit is an easy answer, but it's not really an explanation for why it's so profitable for so much capital to go into real estate. So much capital, actually, that in the US, out of roughly $178 trillion of national assets, almost half, about $84 trillion, is in real estate. In the words of Robert Shiller, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, quote, "Far more important to the world's economies than the stock markets are wage and salary incomes and other non-financial sources of livelihood, such as the economic value of our houses and apartments. This is where the bulk of our wealth is found." That's a relatively new thing, and there's 3 parts to how we got here: government policy, generational wealth gaps, and capital's demand for liquidity. Since about the 80s, governments all over the world, including the US, have changed the way they operate pretty drastically. Where once the New Deal and the Keynesian era of the 20th century meant governments trying to run an economy with decent jobs that paid pretty well paired with decent government services, Reagan's turn to neoliberalism meant pretty much gutting all that and replacing it with personal debt. It's around this time that credit scores appeared and mortgage loans exploded. This new governmental approach has a name: house price Keynesianism. Neoliberalism means lower real wages, non-existent public services, and weaker working protections. It sucks, but you can't jump straight into it. To compensate workers for the fact that wealth was being siphoned to the top 1% much faster than before, the 80s marked a radical shift towards consumer debt, specifically mortgages. Basically, while everything was being slashed and home budgets took a hit, credit card debt and easy access to ultimately more expensive mortgages meant you could still live a version of the American dream, including the all-essential homeownership part. But this has a few consequences. For one, it means people are now on the hook for a lot more. Debt is a form of public control and accountability. There's this huge push for financial literacy programs to get people to take on more debt. And most importantly, get it through their heads that they have to pay these debts back and it's a moral failing if they don't. Ensuring this compliance when wages...
Bro, one thing I hate is the fact that the government wants us to be in debt. I don't get why. Well, I do get why. Let me start. I don't get why. I do get why that... Why do they do it? I don't fucking know. I know it's greed. But as you as a person and people behind pulling these strings in order for this to happen, I question the humanity that they have. Or even any sense of humanity that they have. Shit, I don't even think they're human, bro. The fuck? Because there ain't no way you have that much of a fucking dark, guzzling heart that you don't give a fuck about people, bro.
are declining is critical. Why? Because governments begin to facilitate using this housing debt as a financial instrument and integrate it into the broader economy. Housing debt becomes an asset that investors can start trading through a process called securitization. If you haven't heard about this before, basically you start with a mortgage in the primary market. The bank gives you a loan, you pay the bank back. Seems simple enough. Starting in the 80s, though, the US government wanted to create a secondary market for all this debt.
For a free guide that can put you on the path to home ownership, call the Fannie Mae Foundation. We're showing America a new way home.
In 1981, Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, starts issuing mortgage-backed securities. 2 years later, Congress lets Freddie Mac, the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, issue the first collateralized mortgage obligation. And in 1984, Congress passes the Secondary Mortgage Market Enhancement Act, which, quote, removed statutory restrictions on investments in private MBSs by federal chartered depository institutions. And then you have the Tax Reform Act of 1986. You know what, it doesn't need to be this complicated. The government created a market for investors to bet on mortgage debt. It allowed banks to take all the mortgages they gave out, pool them together, slap a label on them so different mortgage pools could be compared, and essentially sold them to investors all over the world. It takes the illiquid physical home that someone actually lives in and turns it into a liquid, easily tradable, valuable asset that investors can pour money into. This was useful because back then, capitalists had no idea what they were going to do with all the money they were making from not paying their workers fairly. You can't leave that money just sitting there. It'll lose some of its value. And without money circulating in the economy, the risk of an economic crisis keeps growing. Capitalism is constantly running towards this very precarious situation where money stops moving, and suddenly people are left holding the bag for obligations they can no longer actually fulfill. In David Harvey's words, then you need a fix. Somewhere to fix and put money in and keep it moving. And what could be better than real estate? You have too much money, you use it to create an asset of equal worth that you'll be able to sell at some point, and you've saved your cash from sitting in the bank. The problem with real estate is that it takes time to design, build, and sell homes like this for a profit. Luckily for capitalists, though, now that there's this huge secondary market in mortgage-backed securities thanks to the government, everything moves a lot faster. There's more debt, and therefore a place to put your money, if you have a lot of it, that'll keep it circulating and growing. This way, real estate becomes not just a good investment for people looking to make more money, but a source of liquidity for capitalist markets that are terrified of drying up with no more places to invest the money they've stolen. And for the rest of us, this means more expensive homes. Now that housing costs are no longer related to any sort of supply, or how useful they are for the people who actually live in them, but rather how valuable they can be made as stores of value and sources of liquidity, their prices reflect the power of capitalists over that process and their ability to enforce debt repayment from homeowners and landlords. Real estate becomes just another overflow tank that's meant to protect capitalists from rushing into the next crisis. This also means that governments are now desperate to keep this cycle going. Mortgages are inflating house prices because families can now borrow way more than they can afford. Mortgage-backed securities inflate home prices because their value as a source of liquidity brings more money into the world of real estate. And because homeownership is now people's main avenue for building wealth in a world of declining real wages, keeping the value of these assets going up becomes a huge obsession for governments desperately trying to avoid a return to a time when people were
bro. Like, it's crazy. Okay. Yo, if all this shit's happening, I still wonder that why the fuck we gotta pay taxes on something that you already own then, bro. Because now it's like, if it's already hard enough to gain that fucking house, why the fuck are we paying taxes to something that we already own? This makes it even more heated. This even exists now, bro. You tax the tax, nigga. That's basically what they're fucking doing at this point, bro. Like, I fucking hate this fucking bullshit, bro. I wish there's a person that just goes in and says, "Hey, this is enough, bro." And, you know, just start. Like, you need a revolution. Revolution need violence, bro. Peace does happen, but those are the memorable ones that people remember. But most in history, revolutions happen through violence, bro. So I need violence, nigga. I'm sorry, bro. Like, the people need to fade with the government, bro. They need to fade, bro. They need to fade the government, bro. I'm sorry. That's literally what needs to happen at this point, bro. We need the
Cities
fade,
weaken
bro.
protections for renters to attract more.
Call Aaron the plumber, bro. We need the fade for the people to fight against the government, bro. That's what it is, bro.
Corporate landlords. Neighborhoods gentrify to accommodate more sites for capital to find its fix. And public housing developments slow down everywhere and even start to be demolished to make room for privately funded construction.
Hi, we're Charity Water. If we lost you at charity, we get it. Give us a moment to change.
You did.
Some
Let me stop.
twisted reading of this might make it seem like a win-win. More money going into real estate means more or better homes, right? Not really. For this system to continue year after year, you need two things to happen. Housing prices need to constantly keep rising, meaning buying a house or staying in the rental market is almost always guaranteed to be more unaffordable from one year to the next, and people need to keep taking on more debt and being forced or guilted into paying it back. Two things that feed off each other and temporarily stave off capitalist crises, but make them way more destructive when they do hit.
So I think this is the most significant financial crisis in the post-war period.
The phone say a lot of their customers are free.
To me as a Jet, bro, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, bro. Like, when this 2008 market crash, I did not know what the fuck was going on, bro. I honestly didn't know why my parents were living with other people and shit. I was confused, but I said, hey, it's okay. I don't mind. I'm chilling, bro. I'm vibing. I'm just a kid, bro. I don't care, bro. As long as like it's good there, and it's all I'm with the vibes, bro. Really can't do much, so I wasn't like dealing with shit. I was just a kid, but I wasn't. I would say like even though we're living with other different people and shit, you know, like we were able to fucking get an apartment at least with these other people, and that was good enough, bro. No, shit was tragic for a lot of people because a lot of people probably became homeless because of it. But shit, we were able to enough to live in a one room with other people. Like it was like a 2-room apartment, and we were able to live with other people. It was this couple, and they were great people, to be honest. To this day, great people. But yeah, bro, that shit, I didn't realize what was going on as a kid. I wish, knowing this situation, if I knew this was gonna happen, I wish I invested in fucking real estate and in fucking crypto. What was I doing having to play Call of Duty, bro? Why the fuck did I play COD, bro? Fuck a childhood, bro. Facts, bro. Fuck
So
a
while
childhood,
governments
bro.
find new ways to create liquid assets and investors keep finding new ways to take advantage of that liquidity to grow their capital, the rest of us are left holding the bag, taking on debt that we can't afford to live with or live without, staying in homes that get more expensive than we can keep up with, parasitic landlords using every trick in the book to either kick us out or gouge us for more than last year. And it sucks. And I know what you're thinking. Just having more money would be great. Getting a raise, unionizing your workplace, clawing back more of those profits from capitalist bosses would be a huge relief with all this horrible stuff happening behind the scenes. But here's the truth. It'll never be enough. So long as housing remains privatized and this entire system of mortgage-backed liquidity keeps pushing the cost of living up, they're gonna keep draining you of any gains you make. Like that RealPage guy said,
to put you
if
more
they
in debt,
think you can afford to pay
more in debt,
they'll
more
charge
better.
you more. We need more than higher wages. We need tenants unions, social housing programs, rent strikes, but most of all, a definite end to capitalism. This system demands that its wealth keeps growing in value, but capitalists can't bear to pay the cost of it themselves.
Oh, I forgot. This dude is
be enough to just
like, he may be a socialist. Like, I think he's a socialist. I'm not mistaken. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, by all means, he has his own perspective, but he's speaking some truth about what's happening. Now, is capitalism an all and be all type scenario? No, I think we could find a way to find something that's better than capitalism, you know. It worked for a while, but now we are seeing the causation of capitalism. Or if money is the way this foundation works upon, money will end up being the power in which the foundation, meaning those that have money have the power, meaning that we're fucked if that's the case. And we got to do something about these things in order for there to be fairness for those that are in the lower ladder. I don't know what that new ideology would that be, or sense of partisanship. I should be libertarian, be something else besides the fucking Democrat or Republican, bro. Because for the past 100 and matter of fact, not 100, for the past ever since the fucking whole fucking the United States has existed, bro. Like, when have we ever really changed between Republican and Democrat? Bro, like, if that shit is fucking us over and there's really nothing that you see changed, why the fuck do we still vote for it? I don't get that, honestly, bro. Like, I just don't get how people view that. They stick to one ideology that they probably don't even care for anymore, bro. There are things that are way better than that, bro. I'd rather people be libertarian, bro. To be honest. Everybody hates the government. Libertarian, that's restrictive. That's governmental power on the people. We need that. Need the government to work for the people, not on the people, bro. And I need something, but like something. And sure, libertarian might be one, but like something else, bro. Bernie Sanders, Democratic Socialist, even, bro. Like, you got me. People, he's a socialist. Marxism, communism. Come on, it's not gonna work, bro. It's a new ideology. It's based on the democratic views, based on, I think it was democratic views based on like social ideology, on socialist ideology, some shit like that, right? I'm not mistaken, but bro, like, I just think we need something new, bro. Because if we keep going with this bullshit, bro, we're just gonna keep shooting ourselves in the foot, bro. It's we the people, bro. Let us the people do some shit, bro. Start with this fucking just letting it happen, bro.
Underpay you.
You're letting the bully you, bro. You gotta stand up, bro.
They will overcharge and overburden you with debt to keep their stupid little game running. So until decent, livable housing is a public right, not a commodity, not collateral, not an asset, a right that we are all entitled to owning for ourselves, you will never be able to afford a home. It's just too useful for them to keep you scrambling.
They just want us to
imagine
get
being
in debt,
able to
bro.
build anything.
That is what they want. That's really it. All right. Well, see something else.
All right.
This looks interesting. Professor Zhang. Is it Jiang or Zhang? I think it's G. Is it Jiang or Zhang? I'm gonna say it's Zhang. I think. I'm not saying maybe. I don't know.
What's amazing about Marx is that today we say he's wrong, right? Communism happened in the Soviet Union, it happened in China, but it happened in Europe and in the United States, where Marx said it would happen first because Germany was more industrialized than Russia or China. Okay, does that make sense? That's what we say. If you think about it deeply, okay, Marx is right. After World War II, every society, every industrial society, to some extent, adopted the ideals of communism.
That's true, because they believe in fairness, and they thought that was the best way to do it. Like, I could see why Marxism was like a very interesting way to go about it, because he did spoke some truth about the certain climates that are end up being to where we're at now. But I feel like communism is also not the end all be all. It's the same thing as capitalism. Communism is anti. Well, it's like capitalism is the antithesis to communism, right? Like they're both against each other, different views. You get me? They go against each other, so it's like it's harder for you to believe in ideology that you spend your whole life being in, and to say that there's no way that could work. I'd say this, like, if there is a way that it could work, it's no longer communism, I would say, because communism never truly worked. I feel like there will be certain practices of communism that might end up getting this new ideology that might fit with capitalism's ideology and create some fucking baby of new sense of fucking some shit, bro. You know, like it's gonna create something new. It's gonna end up being better for the people. When will that happen? I don't fucking know. Will it happen? Oh, for sure. Will I still be alive? I don't fucking know. And if I am be alive for that shit, I am glad, bro, because I'm now knowing that at least the human race is moving forward and not going backwards to where we're fucking shooting ourselves in the foot, bro.
Makes sense. Okay, we call this socialism, not communism, but basically it adheres to the thinking of Marx, which is to make the worker the heart and center of your society.
Exactly.
And why did they do that after World War II? Exactly, okay? Because workers create value. Okay? Money doesn't create any value. Money just creates more money. It's speculative.
Exactly.
But the workers create value. They're productive. And therefore, you have to treat your workers properly. So in America and in Europe, workers became the heart and center of your society. And the workers, through unions, could demand political reforms. And so all of society was geared towards making the lives of the middle class, the working class, better, okay? That's why you had excellent healthcare, great public schools, cheap universities. Okay? So the 50s and 60s and 70s was basically the peak of society for the working class. But in the 80s, we start to change this. Why? Why would we want to change the system? It's a great system, right? Marx is right. Having the worker as the heart and center of your society, as the central organizing unit of your society, makes a lot more sense than having money as the heart and center, okay? But starting in the 80s, we start to go back to money. Why?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, they're both opposite of each other, bro. Oh, man.
Excuse me? Who wants more? Yes, exactly. Okay. So what happened in the 80s is something called the revolt of the elite. Okay? In other words, the problem with having a society based on the worker is it becomes too egalitarian, too equal, right? But if you're like the elite, you don't want equality, you want difference. You want to have power and money
status
in your hand.
You want that power status, you know. Exactly.
Does it make sense? So the revolt of the elite happened in the 80s, and this is what we call in the United States the Reagan Revolution, okay? The Reagan Revolution. The beginning of neoliberalism, free market capitalism. And in Britain, it was called Thatcherism, okay? Margaret Thatcher, the Thatcher Revolution. And so now you need to transition away from the worker
But I eat healthy.
To something else, okay? Another ideology that allows the elite to amass power, okay? So just to show you how radical this revolution was. In the 1970s, okay, 1970s, if you were a CEO, the head of a company, okay, you were making on average $1 million a year. That's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good.
That's really good money.
But as we've seen all these videos that I've been watching, bro, that shit is probably quadrupled or quintupled, bro.
That $1 million was more than 20 times the worker.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's pretty reasonable.
Well, yeah, because you started the
Today-
company and you're worth 20 times. But now that's, I think, bro, it's not even fair, bro. I think to a worker,
The
bro.
average CEO in the United States makes $20 million a year. And that is 200 to 300 times more than the average worker in the company. Okay, does that make sense? So, in the 80s, inequality started to explode, right? And so they were transitioning from the worker to a new organizing unit called the consumer. Okay? So they needed to destroy the working class, the middle class. And the way they did it was by introducing a new concept called the consumer, okay? So in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the government promised you a good job. If you were a member of a society, if you were a citizen, I promise you a good job that you would have for the rest of your life, okay? So in the 80s, the government said, I promise you that you have low prices and a wide selection of goods. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so this sounds like a subtle shift, going from the worker to the consumer, okay?
Yeah, it's a
But what
big
this meant-
shift, bro. But like, damn, that means they did it during the moment of its, at the peak of its, like, how should I say this? Like, if the way he stated it is true, that means he did it to where the people were at most vulnerably scared that they did this switch, which they thought it was going to be for good. But then, man, that's not good. But I feel like that's the tactic that's always been used within the United States, the fear tactic. To then say, oh, but no worry, we have this, it's going to do better. It's not, man.
was a revolution in society, a revolution in politics. So remember that, an example of the worker has to have political consciousness in order to protect his or her rights, in order to organize and unify and push for favorable political reforms, okay? That's what the worker must do, okay? But now let's think about the mentality of the consumer. And to do this, let's do another thought experiment. And the thought experiment is this. Everyone in the school, about 500 people, I decide to give everyone $1 million, okay? So everyone in the school has exactly $1 million to spend. What happens now? Think about this. What happens now? Use your imagination.
Okay, I'm actually trying to answer this, bro. If everyone has $1 million, that means we're all equal in a sense. Well, monetarily. Monetarily we're all equal. There's no one different. But if we're talking in the sense of the economy, if everyone has $1 million, then how the fuck is money flowing?
What happens? What's the first thing you do?
You spend, though. You spend $1 million for the money to keep going.
What's the first thing you do? I've given you $1 million. What do you do with it?
You spend it.
Well, the first thing you do is buy something, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What do you want to buy?
It.
$1 million is a lot of money. What do you want to buy now? You buy a house, right? That's great. That's a great purchase.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? Then what do you do?
I'll save it for my taxes.
First thing is now buys a house. Then what does he do? To me? Buy furniture. Then what does he do? There's something that he must do that's very important. Once he buy the house, what does he want to do?
Invest.
He wants to take pictures and post on social media, right?
Oh.
So everyone sees it on social media. Then you see this. Now has this huge house in Beijing with lots of fancy furniture. What do you do now? You also want to buy a house. But what kind of house? A bigger house, right? And then what do? You also post pictures, okay? Then how do other people feel? You think this is funny, okay? But this happens all the time.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Very
so
quickly,
I mean, that's how this country
in
runs.
School? And you all spend your money, and you all go into debt, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in competition with each other to buy the biggest thing. And $1 million is a lot of money, but it's not enough to buy everything, right? So you go into debt. You borrow more money to buy more things. And then what happens?
Where the fuck did that music
And
come
then
from?
How do you guys feel about each other? Do you guys have lunch together? Do you guys have dinner together? Do you guys like to share homework together? You guys hate each other, right? At the end of the day, what will happen is you all go into debt and you all hate each
Yo,
other.
that class is so silent. It's
So
crazy, bro.
What consumerism is. Consumerism
Nah, he's low-key
creates
spinning
a
shit. He's teaching shit, bro. And I'm
in
learning.
society for prestige, okay? To see who can post the nicest social media pictures. This leads to the individualization or the optimization of you, okay? In other words, you are now unable to act together. You don't want to organize. You don't want to act in
compete against each other.
okay?
You want to compete against each other.
Ultimately, this means that you develop economic logic, okay? And what is economic logic? It's to see the world only through the lens of capital.
Money.
Okay, does it make sense? So when you see someone and you're like, okay, well, do I want to date this person? You don't ask, oh, is this person a nice person? You ask yourself, how much money does this person have? Okay, do you understand?
So true, especially
you use
now,
economic
bro.
logic
It's crazy.
in order to understand the world and to reason and analyze the world, okay? Now, let me ask you this question. Today, is this how China works? Is this how the world works? The answer is yes.
That's how U.S.
Okay?
Yeah, that's how the U.S. works.
Are you like this? Yes, you are like this, okay?
Yeah.
You've been brainwashed into thinking that this is the only
through a money
way
perspective
to behave and to think. You're in school. Why are you in school?
To get a job.
So you can get a good job. Why?
Because you need
to
money.
make money. And so you can buy things, okay? You understand? That's how you all think. But there are different ways to think about school, right? You're like, I'm in school to learn.
Exactly. So that's why so now it's like, it's just based on the institutions that we grow in that ends up fucking controlling us to the way we think. That's why I'm saying, bro, our schools are have to get better, especially in the United States, bro. Our learning is down. Our academic is down. Same shit, learning academic, same shit. It's down, basically. But not only is it down, it's that we don't see the lens. We don't see we don't see the only upside of school besides learning to get a job and get money, right? That's the only lens that we see with the United States. We don't see in any other view, like the guys about to state right now, which is like just sad. How do we get to the point where we're literally fucking ourselves like this bad? And I feel like I'd say we did, but at the same time they manipulated us. So it's like, it's 50-50. Like, take accountability, and at the same time, don't worry, bro. You just got manipulated heavy, bro. But you gotta see, bro. Like you got discernment, bro. You're able to see what is and what isn't at times. But not everyone is able to see it most of the time. The times you miss it, we're not all perfect. But shit, bro. For the government to fucking fuck this up like this to the point where we're just institutionalized, bro. And we're just in this fucking big system of us just being a number to them.
To open my mind, to have an imagination, to think critically about the world, right? And that was
That's
the
true.
way we thought about school when the workers were dominant. But now that consumers are dominant, all we think about is how do I get a good job? How do I buy a bigger house?
Yeah.
Because I want to post it on social media. Okay? So, if you
That's
think
so
about
true,
this,
though.
what this really is the perfection of slavery.
That boy
Doesn't make
spitting. That
What's
boy.
the perfection of slavery?
Oh my God, yo, he is spitting, bro. Oh my God. I'm gonna try to take a guess. It might. I don't know what he means by that, but I would think having like honestly, I feel like what he means by this, I'd say like we're to a sense that we're easily too much in a system that makes us act in a way that everything is in a sense of a monetary game through everything that we do. Everything that we do is basically how do we get the money? Because we have this sense of ideology of how we get the money, and that we should most definitely go get this money. You get me? And only think about money. This is causing us to be enslaved to this new system that they brought us in. Meaning that we're stuck in a way of always thinking about what to get the next thing with our money that we get. You get me? And just like that, money is the only thing we end up seeing. And just like that, the government has the best fucking... What was the best way of saying it? The government found their best ticket meal, basically. They got you. They got you to where, oh, good, we got this motherfucker. Just keep buying, bro. Just keep buying. Exactly. Oh, get that house, G. Keep going. Get more money, bro. Keep getting more money. To where now you're just enslaved by the money. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you become a slave of the money, but...
Okay.
Why is this perfect?
Oh, why is it perfect? I don't know.
Yes, okay? You understand? If you're a slave, you rebel, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know you're a slave,
Slave,
and you
yeah,
like this, you
right.
choose this, then you will never rebel, okay? So the consumerism is the perfection of slavery, okay? And that's why Francis Fukuyama thinks that consumerism is the end of history, because it is a system that achieves what the elites want, and the masses are unwilling and unable to protest and rebel. Okay, does that make sense? It's a perfect system.
Bro, this man's spitting, bro. Let this man spit, boy, yo. Professor Zhang, bro. Keep spitting the truth, bro. I buy, therefore I am, bro. Facts. Need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. That is more truth than shit, bro. Especially now. That's too much truth. Too much truth to be said. I'm not gonna lie. Consumerism is the best way to get people distracted and believing they're free, while quietly shaping their desire to serve the system. And saying how he's teaching this to high schoolers. I only had this level of education in college. He's from Brazil, Frejian. I thought this is a high school, Bro, I thought this was a college education course class, bro. They didn't teach this in high school. They didn't teach this in high school at all. It's one thing that the government doesn't want for us. Have our own line of thinking. The easier to keep in check with that, bro, the easier they are, easier to fucking make us a sheep of herd. It is what it is, bro. Alright, next video. What the fuck do we got, bro? Next fucking video. Let's see. As philosophy professor defines pseudo-intellectualism. Yeah, not for me right now. Let's see. Don't want things anymore. Did I subscribe to him? Let me subscribe because I ain't feeling like he's spitting.
Why can't you stay organized? I've experienced this myself.
Why Japanese people?
Something peculiar is happening in Japan.
Oh, I've seen this dude before. He's another, he does like societal documentaries and shit. Let's see one that's... Work to death, don't work at all. I think, let me...
Something peculiar is happening in Japan.
Try not to
it's been happening for a while.
Too much. But I should though, bro. Fuck it, I will, bro. I will interject a lot.
Don't seem to want things anymore. They've stopped going for promotions at their jobs, preferring to simply go through the motion at the office. They've stopped pursuing hobbies, preferring simple routines or passive entertainment. They prefer renting over buying homes, public transport over buying cars, and they prefer to keep the money they saved cash instead of investing into assets. Half of all marriages are either sexless or nearly sexless, and I probably don't need to tell you about the fertility rate, which is at an all-time low. In fact, many young adults have stopped looking for love altogether. About 45% of them have not had sex for at least 12 months, and of those never married, about half are virgins. The Japanese management consultant Kenichi Omai was the first to describe this phenomenon as a low-desire society. In his book of the same name, he calls it, quote, Japan's unique, world unprecedented abnormality. It's as if Japan has given up on the idea of ambition. People are afraid of hope, and have become profoundly risk-averse as a result. As Omai puts it, quote, in Japan, men and women, young and old, all suppress their desires and put money into savings to minimize anxiety, even if only slightly. To explain how Japan come to be this way, I need to tell you a story about the rise and fall of the Japanese economic empire and its aftermath, which
I know the 80s was a big boom for Japan.
Our story begins at the end of World War II. Having lost that war, Japan was in ruin. Its cities devastated, its economy shattered, and its people amongst the poorest in the world. So few expected that Japan was about to pull off an economic miracle the like of which the world had never seen. Over the next few decades, the country would embark on a remarkable period of unbelievable economic growth, at a rate averaging about 10% per year. And by its end, Japan had become the world's second largest economy, just behind the US, with many expecting it to soon overtake the US and become the most dominant economy in the world. Japan was anything but a low-desire society back then. It was vibrant and ambitious. People dreamt big and worked hard. They aimed for the moon, and some got there. The streets were packed with brand new cars, stores always crowded with people. The appetite for new experiences seemed endless. Everyone wanted to get ahead, buy homes, start families, and enjoy the good life. It seemed like the good time would never end, but all good things come to an end, and the end for Japan's golden years was near. The decades of rapid growth had become unsustainable, resulting in an asset bubble. For example, despite being 25 times smaller than the US in terms of land mass, Japan's total land value was worth more than that of the entire US.
Sheesh! What the fuck, that ass? What?
Tokyo's real estate value, in particular, had become so astronomically high that the Tokyo Imperial Palace, an area of just 3.4 square kilometers, were said to be worth more than all the real estate in California combined. The signs of an economic bubble were there, and, at least in hindsight, obvious. For example, people were buying things just to buy them, regardless of how random or useless they might seem, like golf club memberships that cost as much as $3 million. At one point,
yo, that is, bro, what?
Japanese corporations
I didn't know Japan was prospering like that. What the fuck?
seem to have literally run out of things to buy in Japan and started buying things in foreign markets too. They bought the Rockefeller Center in New York for $1.4 billion, Columbia Pictures for $3.4 billion, and Universal Pictures for $6.6 billion. There were concerns at the time that Japan was buying up too many foreign assets. Some worried that Japan might one day buy up the entire US or whole world. Perhaps Japanese investors had become accustomed to seeing prices going up that they stopped worrying about how much they cost a day, expecting to always be.
So it's because of this. I mean, obviously, there's up to a certain ideology or sense of societal norms that they got to the point where they were at to where they're at, right? So, like, but now I feel like the way they view these things is probably, their norms is probably catching up to the younger society, and which is affecting them in a negative way, I feel like, right? And I feel like that's it's gonna cause Japan to go in a serious, probably economic decline, maybe. I don't know.
To sell it for more in the future. That was until that future came crashing down. In 1989, the Bank of Japan decided to raise interest rates sharply, hoping it would keep the rampant asset speculation and inflation under control. It worked. Or rather, it worked too well. The asset bubble burst, causing a downward economic spiral. The crash started with the stock market in 1990, and the real estate market soon followed in 1991. Asset prices, which people assumed would keep rising, began to fall and kept falling. The stock market would go on to lose 80% of its value in the following decade, and the real estate market 70%. Businesses and banks who had overextended themselves to acquire these assets were left holding nothing but massive amounts of debt, and bankruptcies and layoffs.
Bro, that is for. I think Japan suffered worse than this. For us. We suffered the 2008 fucking crash. I understand that. But that is way worse than what the fuck happened to us. What? As a nation, that is. You get me? As a nation, that is way worse happening to them as a nation, because their people probably suffered more than we did when it came to the 2008 crash. So that is 70% is crazy, bro. That is crazy.
Soon followed.
70-80%,
people,
bro. That's just
who were
not right.
rich on paper, watched as their wealth turned to ashes before their eyes. What followed wasn't just a quick recession, but a long, drawn-out economic stagnation that would come to be known as Japan's lost decades. It's called the lost decades because nothing really happened economically during those decades. The GDP more or less stopped growing, with stagnating wages and deflating prices. The effects of this economic malaise remained to this day. Tokyo's real estate market never recovered to the height of its heyday, and the Japanese stock market only went back to its pre-crash value last year. To say that people learned their lessons is an understatement. Perhaps they learned it too well. People didn't just grow cautious, they became pessimistic. Not only are they preparing for the worst, they expect the worst too.
All right, so listen up.
Shit.
State Farm was trying to
So that caused a shift in ideology. That
charge me
is
$197 for
damn.
insurance. No, thank you. I got a
Ambition always ends in frustration seemed to have been the lesson many internalized.
Ambition always ends in frustration. Does it really though?
So instead of chasing big goals, they now gravitate towards stability, steady income, simple routines, and cash on hand. Those who grew up during this era of quiet resignation, who are the young people working and living in Japan now, will come to comprise the bulk of the low desire society. These people never experienced the bullet train pace of rising living standards their parents did. Instead, they've grown accustomed to stagnation, where the absence of progress is the norm. They know about the massive layoffs and bankruptcies from giant corporations that once looked too big to fail, and understood job security to be illusory.
Bro.
Wages stay the same anyway, so why work that hard? Prices remain low anyway, so why buy assets? Fortunately, low prices also mean that things are cheap. Rent is low enough, and the Japanese public transport works. Food is affordable, well, except rice. That's a long story for a different day, but for the most part, the cost of living is conveniently affordable in the never-ending array of 100 yen shops and convenience stores. This allows people to get by with even a modest income. So before long, people start thinking, let's just keep our heads down and we'll survive. Don't try anything bold. Live below our means and save what we can. Walk carefully through life so that we may arrive safely at death. Now I'm noticing that this might start to sound a bit depressing.
What? That is sad. Like honestly, bro, like is this really how Japanese people are going through right now? I mean, I could see why there's like a sense of dread within the nation right now. Then if that's the case, and it can make sense why there's so much hikikomoris and shit, bro. That is just, oh man.
It seems that there's something wrong with a low desire society, that it's a problem that needs to be fixed. But is it a problem, really? And if it is a problem, whose problem is it? Now, first of all, from the perspective of the economy, low desire